English for legal exams, global legal topics, text and audio, practice English for legal purposes, ELP, with this read and listen text audio video covering today's most important global legal topics and contemporary legal challenges. Audio is in English, with English and Polish text on screen. Perfect video for law students, legal professionals, exam candidates, and ESL learners. Video 1, Topics 1 to 4, 1. International Human Rights Law, 2. Cybercrime and Digital Evidence, 3. Intellectual Property Rights, 4. Contract Law in Business Deals. 1. International Human Rights Law. International human rights law is a branch of public international law that establishes obligations on states to protect the dignity, freedoms, and equality of individuals. It is rooted in instruments such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and legally binding treaties like the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. These instruments create a framework to safeguard fundamental rights across borders. The key principle underlying human rights law is universality, meaning rights apply to every person regardless of nationality, status, or jurisdiction. States are expected to respect, protect, and fulfill these rights through legislation, judicial remedies, and enforcement mechanisms. Violations can trigger diplomatic pressure, sanctions, or proceedings before international courts. Regional systems reinforce global norms through institutions like the European Court of Human Rights, the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, and the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. These bodies interpret treaties, deliver judgments, and issue advisory opinions to strengthen compliance. Their jurisprudence shapes how governments understand their obligations. Human rights law covers a wide spectrum, including civil and political rights such as freedom of speech, fair trial, and non-discrimination, as well as economic, social, and cultural rights like education and healthcare. Emerging areas include environmental rights and the rights of indigenous peoples. The scope continues to expand with global challenges. Enforcement remains one of the greatest challenges. Many states ratify treaties but fail to implement them domestically, resulting in weak protection at the national level. Non-governmental organizations and advocacy groups play a vital role in monitoring abuses, reporting violations, and pressuring governments for reform. In recent decades, international criminal tribunals and the International Criminal Court have linked gross human rights violations to accountability for crimes such as genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. These institutions provide legal remedies when national courts are unable or unwilling to prosecute. The future of human rights law lies in balancing sovereignty with universality. Global issues like migration, climate change, and digital surveillance raise new legal questions. Lawyers preparing for exams must master not only foundational treaties but also contemporary debates and jurisprudence to understand the evolving nature of human rights protection. 2. Cybercrime and digital evidence. Cybercrime refers to criminal activities committed through computer systems, networks, or digital platforms. It includes offenses such as hacking, identity theft, online fraud, cyberstalking, and ransomware attacks. With globalization and digitalization, cybercrime has become a major concern for law enforcement and legislators worldwide. One key challenge in prosecuting cybercrime is establishing jurisdiction. Offenders may operate across multiple countries, making it difficult to determine which legal system applies. Instruments like the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime aim to harmonize laws and enhance international cooperation in investigations and prosecutions. Digital evidence plays a central role in cybercrime cases. This includes data from hard drives, cloud storage, social media, emails, and mobile devices. Admissibility of such evidence depends on strict rules governing authenticity, integrity, and chain of custody to ensure reliability in court. Forensic techniques are used to collect and analyze digital evidence. Experts may recover deleted files, trace IP addresses, or examine metadata to prove the origin of an attack. Courts often rely on expert witnesses to explain technical findings in a manner understandable to judges and juries. Privacy and data protection laws complicate cybercrime investigations. Law enforcement must balance investigative needs with individual rights under regulations such as the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe. This tension creates ongoing debate about surveillance, encryption, and government access to data. International cooperation is essential in combating cybercrime. Mutual legal assistance treaties, extradition agreements, and joint task forces facilitate cross-border investigations. Without collaboration, offenders can exploit legal loopholes and safe havens. For law students and exam candidates, understanding cybercrime requires mastery of both substantive offenses and procedural rules of digital evidence. Familiarity with conventions, forensic processes, and privacy concerns is critical for navigating this fast-evolving legal field. 3. Intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rights are legal protections granted to creators and innovators for their intangible assets, including inventions, artistic works, and brand identities. These rights incentivize innovation and creativity by allowing exclusive use or commercial exploitation of protected works. The main categories of intellectual property are patents, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets. Patents protect new inventions and technological processes, copyrights cover literary and artistic works, trademarks secure brand names and logos, while trade secrets protect confidential business information. Each category has distinct legal requirements and enforcement mechanisms. International treaties harmonize IP protection across borders. The World Intellectual Property Organization administers agreements such as the Berne Convention for Copyrights and the Patent Cooperation Treaty. The Agreement on Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights sets minimum standards for global enforcement. Infringement occurs when someone uses protected works without authorization. Remedies include injunctions, damages, and in some cases, criminal penalties. Courts may also order the destruction of counterfeit goods and compensation for lost profits. Technological change poses challenges to IP law. The rise of digital platforms has increased copyright piracy, trademark dilution, and patent disputes in emerging fields like biotechnology and artificial intelligence. Balancing protection with public access to knowledge remains a central issue. Developing countries often argue that strict IP laws hinder access to medicines and educational materials. Mechanisms such as compulsory licensing allow governments to override patent rights in the interest of public health. These debates highlight tensions between private rights and public interests. For legal exams, students must grasp the substantive scope of IP rights, international frameworks, and enforcement issues. They should also be prepared to analyze contemporary challenges where law intersects with technology, globalization, and access to resources. 4. Contract law in business deals. Contract law governs legally binding agreements between parties in commercial and private contexts. In business, contracts provide certainty, allocate risk, and establish obligations for transactions such as sales, services, and partnerships. Without enforceable contracts, commerce would lack predictability and stability. The essential elements of a valid contract include offer, acceptance, consideration, intention to create legal relations, and capacity of the parties. Failure to satisfy these requirements can render an agreement void or unenforceable. Exam candidates must know these elements in detail. Contract interpretation plays a major role in resolving disputes. Courts examine express terms, implied terms, and surrounding circumstances to determine the parties' intentions. Ambiguities are often construed against the drafter under the contra pro forentum rule. Business contracts frequently include clauses such as force majeure, arbitration, limitation of liability, and confidentiality. These provisions manage risks, provide dispute resolution mechanisms, and protect sensitive information. Understanding their legal effect is vital for practitioners. Breach of contract occurs when one party fails to fulfill obligations. Remedies may include damages, specific performance, rescission, or restitution. Courts aim to place the injured party in the position they would have been in had the contract been properly performed. International business deals raise additional complexities. Issues of governing law, jurisdiction, and enforcement of foreign judgments are critical in cross-border transactions. Instruments such as the UN Convention on Contracts for the International Sale of Goods provide uniform standards. Exam candidates must demonstrate knowledge of both domestic principles and international aspects of contract law. Practical application often involves problem-solving scenarios where students identify issues, apply rules, and suggest remedies.